pins and needles to see if I can become a mom. I'm feeling a bit anxious.
Says, good morning, Quad. This message indicates that while you have 4 embryos initially, only 1 reached the marula stage by day 6, which is slower in terms of development than typical. And the other 3 are still at cleavage stage. Having embryos still at cleavage stage on day 6 does suggest that they may not develop optimally.
So that basically means that it didn't work?
I feel like a failure. That's how I really feel.
No, you're not a failure.
This is so tough. It feels so unfair. When you're trying to do everything right and in order and in sync, and now I thought I was over, like sticking myself, you know, I was just.
But you really have to think about it and make sure that, I mean, it's not taking too much of an emotional toll on you and that you can actually go through this again. It's not gonna weigh on you or break you. I mean, you gotta think about your mental health.
You don't want to do this anymore with
I'm not
me?
saying I don't want to do it, but let's be realistic also. I was okay with not having any more kids, but I decided to take this journey with you because I really just want to support you and do it for you. It's a very expensive process.
And we knew that.
No, we knew it was expensive, but we thought we were going to get it done in one round.
Well, how about I do this? I would possibly like to continue, and you don't have to spend another dime.
It's not about. It's not about the money.
But you just said.
It's not about that. That doesn't affect the hormones. That doesn't affect the travel time. I mean, when does it end? Is there a point where we say, okay, enough is enough? Let's be practical.
Like, please, just don't do this to me. I've been through so much.
Okay, so I just watched the last episode of Married to Medicine, and this is my take regarding Quad and King. Now, I have loved the happiness that Quad displayed. Well, last season, she was so in love with King. And I'm not saying she's not in love with him now, but I don't know if King was a part of her story in order to come back on the show and to get back at Greg and get back at Sweet Tea, because that's what it's given. She started with the whole thing about wanting kids. Now, if you've been watching Married to Medicine, you know Quad did not want kids. So I get it. As you get older, you start to change. You're a woman. Women naturally, some women, I'm going to say all women, but most women naturally want to be a mother. And sometimes people think, oh, I didn't ever want to be a mother, but yet you are mothering your nieces, your nephews. In the inside of women, you kind of carry on that motherly instinct or that desire of some form of motherhood. You may not want to give birth, but you are that auntie, that godmother. You find your way into that motherly role. So I say that Quad had that she was very big on Dr. Greg. She didn't want kids. So she spent most of her younger days and her prime time with Dr. Greg, finally got a divorce, and now she's 44. She's 44. And the unfortunate thing is, it's a lot of times women, it's not black women, it's not young women, it's not old women, it's all women. They get tied up in their careers, get tied up in relationships with the wrong relationships, and they put some things on the back burner because they think that they'll be okay with having kids at whatever age they want to have kids. And science just doesn't work like that. You have to prioritize the things that you desire. And if you desire to be a mother, you have to go see a reproductive endocrinologist so that they can check your egg reserve, check all of that, so that they'll be able to tell you where you are. Don't assume. Don't be like the people of our past generations that say, oh, it'll happen when it happen, or things like that, because it's coming from me who, even going through IVF, I had great numbers, but I experienced an ectopic pregnancy before. So you just never know. And even though I did naturally get pregnant on my own, it was ectopic. And it wasn't with my husband. And so it was with, prior to my marriage. I ain't cheat on my husband, but prior to my marriage, I found myself and being pregnant, and I lost the tube. And so when I got married, before I got married to my husband, we were friends, and I just knew I wanted a kid. And I met my husband when I was 38, so I was a little older already. But even before, I had already went to see an endocrinologist, a reproductive endocrinologist, and I knew what my levels were with my egg reserve. I knew those things already, and it was always very, very good. So I was grateful for that. But I told my then friend, hey, I don't know where this is going, but I know that next year I want to start my IVF process. I don't know if you're going to be a part of it, or if not, I understand, we'll be friends still. It'd be nothing. I didn't know he was going to be my husband, but God will send the right people to you. I spoke and I spoke into the existence. I ended up getting married and went through the talk with my husband. Hey, can we go ahead and start the process now? Luckily enough, I had the best husband who was on board, who went through the doctor's analysis and checked his sperm count, did everything that is necessary. And he's a black man. And I say that because a lot of black men are not as open to the idea of IVF. So anyway, so God gave me the right person for me. So I come to say all of that back to Quad. I looked at this last episode, and Quad, I understand King. Somebody who wants to have a child, they'll look at King and say, oh, he's arrogant, oh, he's not right. But when going through having a child, whether it's natural or through IVF, you have to be considerate of your partner. And he expressed that he expressed several times throughout this season already that the mood swings, the different weighing of trying to have a baby has caused some discourse in their relationship. Mind you, this is not her husband. This is a boyfriend. They are not really on one accord. He don't want to move in her house. She don't want to sell her house. So they're not already on one accord. Having a baby probably wouldn't even be, if they can't settle of where we gonna live, they definitely ain't gonna be able to come to an agreement on decision making with co-parenting, and it will probably cause some discourse in their relationship. Kids do not help relationships. It tests your relationship. So if you are not at that point before the child come, that you have somebody that is willing to bend, don't have kids with them. And for King, he already has a daughter. Quad now has this epiphany that she wants to be a mother at 44. And from what I am assuming, she doesn't have the best egg quality. And I think Dr. Jackie kind of said that she doesn't have the best egg quality. And when you are going through IVF, it's best to try to get yourself checked when you are probably in your late 20s, mid to late 20s, and also be persistent with it in your 30s so that you'll know. My egg reserve when I was in my early 30s or late 20s, early 30s was like a 12. When I hit 40, it dropped down to a 5. And 5 is awesome for a 40-year-old. So the least they want you to be is at a 2. For her, I think it was, I don't know, but she did not respond well. She did not take in consideration of what King was saying. He was saying it's taking a lot of mental toll. I am spending too much time with flying all the way to Ghana and coming back. And it's taken away from my child that I do have. He said, I was okay with not having other kids. She probably didn't want to receive that. She immediately said, don't do this to me. At this point, I would suggest to Quad is to look into. What I would suggest to Quad is to look into. It sounds bad. It sounds so unfair, but look into adoption. Look into the sperm bank. If you want to continue to go through all these different cycles, and it costs all the money. First, suggest to Quad is to look into. It sounds bad. It sounds so unfair, but look into adoption. Look into the sperm bank. If you want to continue to go through all these different cycles, and it costs all the money. First and foremost, have a husband. Only your husband will probably go through that. Not your boyfriend. It's very hard to find a boyfriend that want to keep going through these different cycles, especially if he's dealing with, the fun is not there anymore. When you dating, it's supposed to be fun, not the stresses of trying to make a baby, especially with a man who already has a baby. So I think that she was unfair to King in this episode. I think that she was only thinking about herself, and that's not, and that won't go well, especially with a man who's an alpha man. He's an alpha man, and so she's like, it seems like she's trying to pressure him, and he's just not going to be pressured anymore. He expressed in the episode that he can't even express how he truly feel because he's trying to be he's trying to be considerate of her feelings. So to any woman that looks at this episode and says that he's not right, he's inconsiderate, he's arrogant, you are wrong. He has a right. He's potentially going to be the father, and he has to be happy about the process as well. And so a lot of people are not successful on the first round. When I went through IVF, I was successful on the first round. But again, I had great egg quality. She hasn't produced any good quality eggs. She had 4. And that was after several rounds building up her supply. She had 4 and the quality wasn't good. She tried Dr. Jackie. Dr. Jackie couldn't help her. She went overseas. So King probably is right. When are you going to be realistic? So I think that she should look into adopting. That would be the best. And she could probably find a newborn baby, or find someone that loves her enough to donate an embryo. So I don't know. But when is it enough? When do you think about your partner, or do you continue to pressure them? No. And in dealing with IVF, that is absolutely not the way to go. Had my husband say he didn't want to do IVF, I would have evaluated that. I would have knew his heart before I married him.